Yes, thank you everybody for being here. Welcome to the September 5th City of Columbia Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. My name is John Gregory, serve as chair for the board and serving as chair for today's meeting. I'm going to introduce my other board members. To my far left, Jonathan Vang, Vice Chair Catherine Finner, to my right, Celia McIntosh, and to my far right, Davis Whittle. Also want to introduce y'all to staff and thank them for their work assisting the board. Hope Hasty Zoning Administrator, Erica Hyen, Deputy Zoning Administrator, and Madeline Bowden, Land Use Board Coordinator. The board is charged with hearing applications for special exceptions, variances, and administrative appeals. All testimony is recorded for the record, and anyone wishing to speak will need to be sworn in and come to the podium to speak. No testimony can be taken from the floor. No testimony between parties can be taken from the floor either. Everyone has to come to the podium. When you come to the podium, please state your name and please speak clearly into the microphone because the meeting is being recorded. Applicants with cases before the board are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the board or staff regarding the case. Any member of the public may address the board in intervals of 3 minutes or 5 minutes if by a spokesperson for an established body or a group of 3 or more. The applicant then has a chance to come back up and has 5 minutes for rebuttal. The board reserves the right to amend these limits on a case-by-case basis. So right now we're going to swear you in if you're planning to come up and speak. So those of you planning to speak must be sworn. If you are here as an applicant or here to speak in any case, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. Excellent, thank y'all. Do you affirm or attest that the testimony you will give today is the truth and nothing but the truth? All right, thank you. You can be seated. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Ms. Hasty.
All right, good afternoon and thank you. We will start this afternoon with the consent agenda, and there's one item on the consent agenda this afternoon. It's just the approval of the August 1st, 2024 meeting minutes.
Move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion's approved.
All right, moving on to the regular agenda. Your first case on the regular agenda is a special exception request, 625 Whaley Street, Unit B. It's a special exception request to permit a liquor store in the NAC district. And I do want to note that there was a typo, I believe, in your packet when we sent it out. This is not in the 5 Points Overlay District. That has been corrected since that time, so it is reflected correctly on the website, but just wanted to make note of that. And I think the applicant's representative is here and would like to present the case.
Excellent. All right, please come forward to the podium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gregory. My name is Jake Moore, and I'm pleased to represent the applicant. Might I ask that the gentleman please not be yelling while I'm at the podium?
Yes, sir. Can you just maybe pull the mic up just a little bit to you? Yeah.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you.
I represent Raj Parikh, who is the applicant. He is of Indian descent. He is properly in the United States, has all of his paperwork, and I believe is a United States citizen. Mr. Parikh has already been before the South Carolina ABC Commission and has been granted a license for an off-premises package liquor store. I have seen some of the letters and correspondence which has been presented to you, which raises the issues which have already been decided by the state. The appropriateness of the location, the overserved area of the location, all of these things have already been presented to and decided by the ABC Commission. I have a copy of his license if you would care to see it, but he already has his license to sell off-premises consumption. This location was an old convenience store several years ago. And we came before this body in an effort to build a new convenience store that would be compatible with the area. In conjunction or consultation with the various groups that are apparently here today to protest again, an architectural design was entered into and a really nice-looking location was put up, which is certainly consistent with the neighborhood architecture and which is a lot nicer than what was there. You have first-class modern lighting, you have first-class security, you have a very large amount of parking. There is very, very little, I think, that can be said against the location. The location consists of a convenience store, which is a modern convenience store. It consists of a restaurant that does not serve alcohol, and what is being applied for is no more than a very small ABC package store. The location in question is only 1,500 square feet. The neighborhood in question across the street from this location is a bar or a restaurant and bar. I believe it is called the Village Idiot. And the Village Idiot, which is allowed apparently under the zoning, is selling liquor by the drink. Now, the interesting thing about our location is it will not be liquor by the drink. It's simply a package store, as is many different places. We don't sell liquor by the drink. Apparently, that has been approved and meets zoning. Right next door, across the street the other way, is something called 701 Whaley Street, which apparently the city is very proud of and basically helps to promote. 701 Whaley Street regularly has places where liquor by the drink is flowing, and it flows at nighttime. Our location has to, by state law, has to close at sundown. So the location will basically be operating during sunlight hours. It'll be operated in conjunction with, in compliance with all state laws. The operator of the convenience store has had a beer and wine permit. He does have beer for sale and wine for sale in accord with the law. Since the permitting of the convenience store, there have been absolutely no problems. There has been no form of police complaint, police incidents, or anything else related to the shopping center. It is a commercial activity, like all other commercial activities, except apparently these organizations would like to see a package store discriminated against in favor of liquor by the drink in at least 2 other places. Across the street in the Granby Apartments, I think they're not, I don't know, Granby Mill Apartments, I think is what they call them. They actually have beer and wine sales, which are 24 hours or not restricted by alcohol sales. The parking on this facility, one of the things I saw was they were complaining about where do the trucks unload. The trucks for the convenience store have no problem unloading, and they unload lots of merchandise. When you're talking about small amounts of packaged product, the amounts of product that you're talking about unloading are small. If you look at our parking lot, which belongs to my clients, the ability to load and unload should be no problem at all. There is arguments or speculation that there will be some form of traffic hazard by opening a 1,500 square foot business. There's going to be a business there one way or the other. There's no reason to believe that a small package store is going to suddenly create any giant amount of traffic. Certainly, there's no proof or evidence that the use of this property as a package store is going to generate any type of traffic problem. So there is obviously no demonstrated safety issues, parking issues, aesthetic issues, And certainly it fits into the community. The ABC Commission has decided that no one's being the market's not oversaturated. As a matter of fact, the closest ABC shop is at Greens, which is a good ways away. My clients have spent, I think, $3 million, which has in effect upfitted this neighborhood. Quite frankly, the building they have constructed looks a whole lot better than what's around it. And it has been done in conjunction with them. We gave them our plans and so forth as we were building the convenience store. The argument that somehow or another a small package store, which would not be open on Sundays to my knowledge, is affecting a church is just not so. We're not open on Sunday and we're not open at night. And the ABC Commission has already done the appropriate measurements to make positive that we're an appropriate distance from the church. It is amazing to me that apparently no one objects to liquor by the drink at this location, but they do object to a package store. It is a position which to me appears to be totally inconsistent and discriminatory. It is hard to understand how they can object to a small package store when apparently they frequent and are delighted to have 701 Whaley and the Village Idiot across the street. The history of these folks has been stellar. They have donated. What's amazing too is the people that are here protesting have come to the owners of the C-store and asked for financial donations for various causes, which have been given. There's the area in question is a commercial district. It's either light industrial or neighborhood commercial. I think it's M1, but I'm not positive. There is absolutely no reason to believe that these people will cause any problem to anybody. I would say this, and I want to make sure I'm putting it on the record. I'm not trying to offend anybody, nor am I trying to start any great controversy, and I'm not sure that the board has any power over this issue at all anyway. The Supreme Court has said that a city may not zone something out of existence. And in effect, what the city has done is to zone all package stores out of existence and say that the owners have to come for a special exception in order to get out of the general rule. I think there's an issue there with the way the city has set this up, but I don't think that's something you can or should deal with. I just want to make sure I'm reserving my issue should I wind up having to appeal this, which I don't want to do. I just cannot understand how this group of so-called community activists continue trying to hurt people or stop people from using their own property in a way that is a legitimate business fashion and people who have actually bettered their community and not taken away from it. None of the letters that have been issued indicate any fact that would basically show any harm to this community by this small package store. There's been an awful lot of speculation. I think that means I got to sit down. I do have the builder here. If y'all want to hear from him, he would testify that the building was designed to be architecturally in line with the community. And I thank you for listening to me. Did you want to see the ABC license? Or would you take my
Yeah,
word?
show that to Ms. Hasty, and maybe you can share that with us, just so we can see it. And you'll have a chance for rebuttal, whether it's you or the applicant themselves, so. Okay. I think so, yeah. Mr. Moore, it was Mr. Moore, correct? Yes. Before you sit down, I guess this is the time we need, do we have any questions for the applicant? Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
What kind of scanner is there going to be?
Scanner?
ID scanner?
Oh, I mean, it would be the same type that they use in the convenience store. It is the most modern type of things that are available. My understanding is that we use the scanner where you actually put the driver's license in.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah,
it-
if you're going to answer, please come to the podium.
It's basically the $3,000
And
kind?
Hold on 1 second. Will you please state your name just for
My
the?
name is Hasmukh Parekh, and I'm the property owner for that.
Okay.
cigarette.
All right, thank you.
We use the POS system, the cash register we have. Anybody comes with the ID, we need to enter the DOB, date of birth, enter. Is my system verify the ID and says verify, then we'll give, otherwise we don't give them. That's what we do. And every receipt has the verifies ID.
Okay.
That's what we do. And we never had any ticket right now from 20 years that on the selling the underage people, you know.
Do you remember what that scanner was for the case last month?
The case last month, it apparently cost $3,000. There's a $500 one and a $3,000 one, and the $3,000 one is the one that really is good. Do you know how much
What is that?
the scanner?
We had a case last month, not to get too much into it, but it was alcohol related, and they invested in a really high-tech scanner for scanning IDs, just to mitigate any underage people.
Underage people,
Yep.
yes.
How much would your scanner cost, Ron?
My scanner, that one, what I have the register, almost about $15,000.
Okay.
15,000, okay.
Yes. With the whole system.
Okay.
The whole system.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions for the applicant at this time? And we can, if we want to, we can ask them after at the rebuttal too. All right, thank you, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm gonna pass this down to y'all. All right, would anyone in the audience like to speak to this case?
I'm a former school teacher.
Yes, ma'am, will you please?
I always have to have a visual. My name is Dr. Sherry Jaco, and I live in the Olympia community, and I'm speaking in opposition to this. For the record, students do not buy many drinks by the drink. Students buy alcohol and take it back to their dorms and they drink it there. It has been the experience that we've had over the last 25 or 30 years with students in our community. I am speaking on behalf of the Mill District Alliance. This is a group of community leaders representing people from the Granby, Whaley Street, and Olympia Mill villages. I'd like to call your attention to the letter that you have in your packet. I think you saw a number of reasons why we are reluctant to get behind this. One of the main reasons is because the City of Columbia planning, and in particular the Community Activity Corridor District, does not allow for a liquor store. The closest liquor store, as the gentleman mentioned, is Greens. It is less than a mile away from where this location would be. And of course, we all know Greens on Assembly Street is, has a high volume of sales. Another thing that we need to mention is that in our communities, and if you look at this, the communities there, the mill districts, they are really overlapping. Two of them, the Granby and the Whaley, are in the City of Columbia, and the Olympia Mill District is in the unincorporated area of Richland County. But if you see how they overlap, they all are sort of in the same, we have the same community of people there. And of course, the heart of Olympia is where this store, or the heart of the Mill Village is where this store would be located. Just to give you some background information, out of these three communities, there are about 500 homes that were built in the early 1900s. Out of those 500 homes, 80% of them are student rentals. Most of them are houses that would house either 3 or 4 students or 3 or 4 young people between the ages of 18 and 22. If you add to that, this area, we have 4 apartment complexes, and that totals up about 2,000 students. So in this little area, we have approximately, mathematicians, 3,500 students who are living and driving and crossing the streets and walking in this area. We do not need a liquor store in the middle of this community. That probably is one of the main concerns that we have. We are very interested in protecting the historic nature of our community. We have figured out a way through the Mill District Alliance of a way to coexist with the university. In fact, our Olympia Mill Village Museum, we're sponsoring a Good Neighbor Day at the end of September in conjunction with USC, inviting students in, making connections with them. We want students to realize this is a place of importance, a place of history, and a place that they could be proud of being a part of. It's not just Party City. Our concern is that liquor stores with liquor that could be purchased and carried back to the dorm rooms or whatever, to the tailgating or whatever, would be a detriment. And of course, I haven't even mentioned the safety of security and the other things that will be involved. I'm sure you're well aware of those. But we appreciate your consideration of this. We also appreciate the fact that this family has come in and made improvements in that area. But I do take exception to where the gentleman says that it looks better. We can't help that we're 125 years old. We think we look pretty good to be that old. So thank you for your time.
Could I make one comment?
Yes, Ms. Jaco, 1 second. I think Ms. Fenner might have a comment or a question.
Dr. Jaco, just for what it's worth, you can have no more than 3 unrelated people within the city limits. So if those houses have 4 people in them, you might want to point that out to the zoning people.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to write your name down, Ms. Fenner, because I have talked to code enforcement over and over again. And the problem with Richland County is they say they don't have people to enforce them.
But
yes.
Richland can't, but within the city of Columbia, if you can tell them
Okay, right.
within the city limits, Ms. Hasty can help you out with that. Thanks.
Staff, we can get with you after the meeting.
Good news for us. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, would anyone else in the audience like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come forward, yep.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Gamble. I'm representing the Whaley Street Neighbors Association. First off, when was the last time this group made application? Do you know?
This particular group,
Yeah,
2018.
2018. What has changed since?
I mean, they've built that new
They
store.
built a nice building, and I commend them for it because it is a big improvement over what they had previously. But the point is, the area has not changed physically. We still have, in our general area, 80% of our population is students that are not. And the lawyer for this group mentioned about 701. Well, we oppose the license for 701. You know what the reply from the ABC gave us back years ago when 701 applied? Well, we'll sell you a license if you want one. That's what they told us. But no, I'm strictly opposed to the liquor store on Whaley Street because it is not compatible to our village.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else like to speak on behalf of the neighborhood? Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Bob Gild, I live on 314 Paul Mall Street, speaking for the Granby Neighborhood Association. I'd like to just remind the board that as you responded to Mr. Gamble, the Shiv Mart and their owners came before you seeking a special exception that you rejected, and you rejected on largely the same grounds that are reflected in our Mill District letter of September 1st. They appealed to the circuit court, and we entered settlement negotiations with Mr. Moore, his clients, Shiv Mart, and the building that you see illustrated on the slide is the result of a hotly, heavily negotiated settlement agreement that we reached with the developer. And indeed, it is an improvement, in my opinion, from the Shiv Mart that was there before. This is the first time with this application that we heard that they proposed a liquor store at this location. There was no contact between Mr. Moore's clients and the neighborhood about their proposal to locate a liquor store. And I can promise you, if we knew about it, we would have sought some relief from the ABC Commission. I can only say that the relationship between the community and this facility, I thought was good until they surprised us with this special exception application for a liquor store. I stand behind the objections that are documented in our letter from the Mill District Alliance to the board on September 1st. Fundamentally, this proposal is incompatible with the Capital City Mills District Area and Corridor Plan adopted by the City of Columbia and Richland County in the process of being implemented. I do want to emphasize one specific point, though. There are two small units, one of which would be occupied by the proposed liquor store. The other unit is one that I've patronized. It's the Banh Mi Vietnamese sandwich shop. It has, as best I can tell, 2 parking spaces in front of it. I suspect there are only 2 more parking spaces that would be available for the liquor store. I see cars park at lunchtime in every square foot of that very small cement parking lot. So I can only say there is inadequate parking at the site. What Mr. Moore, my colleague, neglects to refer to is that on the very other side of Whaley Street, which has a traffic count of 23,000 plus cars in 2023, average daily traffic, there are probably 3,000 students. There's the 612 Whaley development, there's the Olympia Mill development, there's the Granby Mill development, and there's the cottages at the mills, all of which have multiple student apartments. They can walk to the Village Idiot and have a beer. But to get to this liquor store, they're going to have to dash across traffic with those 24,000 cars. I run in the neighborhood, and I can tell you, I wouldn't think about crossing Whaley Street at that point. It's dangerous at the nearest crosswalk, which is at Wayne and Whaley. I go all the way to the dogleg, where the only place where the traffic throttles down to 2 lanes in either direction, because there's a 15-mile-per-hour speed limit at that dogleg, and I wait carefully and get halfway across each time. So I can only tell you that this is an attractive nuisance for dangerous crossing by thousands of students to go across this Whaley Street to dash there to get the bottle of alcohol that they're going to carry back to their dorm rooms, as Dr. Jaco suggested. You know, we don't want to see the Shiv Mart owners deprived of the use of their property. And in fact, we encourage them through the settlement of that special exception dispute to build an attractive building with small-scale retail. And I talked to the owner of Banh Mi Sandwiches, and he said, I've asked them to let me have that second bay so I could have a few more sit-down tables in my sandwich shop. And they said no. Well, they said no because they got a more profitable operation in mind, which is selling alcohol by the bottle. And I submit to you that there is full opportunity for them to have economically usable access to their non-rented space right now, but it should not be an alcohol selling a store, a package store, at the expense of our community and at the risk of the thousands of students who are going to be attracted to come and go across Whaley Street to patronize. There's no other reason for them to locate there than to seek to develop a clientele with thousands of students across the street. So I believe this proposal fails to demonstrate that it meets the special exceptions requirements. And with all due respect to Mr. Moore and his clients, we'd love to consult with them further about an attractive use that the neighborhood would patronize safely and compatibly with our neighborhood plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gall. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak from the audience? Okay, seeing none, yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Moore or his client to come back up. And yeah, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal. So, and then we might have some questions for you after. So.
I really enjoyed the comments. Mr. Gall apparently is of the opinion that the students, most of whom I would assume are 21 or under, are going to the Village Idiot to drink beer. But then we have one of the protestants say that students don't buy liquor to drink. They don't buy liquor. They go to the dorm and drink. Apparently, the students are going to the Village Idiot and drinking, according to Mr. Gall. But it's interesting that he uses the prior order as precedent. As he knows, the matter was basically resolved by settlement in the circuit court when we were forced to appeal the last decision. But by virtue of the fact that it was settled on appeal, that decision is not precedental and should not have been used, and he as an attorney should know that. It has no precedental value at all because the case was ultimately settled, and it was settled on appeal. They indicate the area has not changed. Well, certainly it has changed. First of all, there remains a stoplight at that corner. For them to believe there's some sort of traffic problem or safety problem with people dashing across the street, violating the law of jaywalking, you'd have to assume that people are going to break the law, which is not an appropriate assumption, I don't think. There is a stoplight right there at the corner. There are some 20 parking lots at this facility. In addition, my clients own the canopy you see. And if push comes to shove, a truck can always pull in under the canopy and load and unload. There certainly will be no problem. And if the board wants to put a stipulation that our providers will not park on the street, suits us fine, because we're not going to do that anyway. All of our trucks make delivery on the adequate parking that we have. All of our trucks make delivery on the street on our property, not using the street at all to be blocked. And there's absolutely nothing to believe that the amount of freight that would be coming into a 1,500 package store would be such to create a parking problem anyway. So that is simply a red herring. So you have no reason to believe that underage people are going to be dashing across the street to buy a bottle of liquor. There's no proof, there's no evidence, it's simply speculation in regard to people being willing to break the law of jaywalking. But we don't sell to people who are under 21. And I'm assuming most students, maybe not the ones drinking beer at the Village Idiot, but most students are under 21 and they're not going to be buying liquor at our store anyway because we don't violate the law. We haven't violated the law. There's no indication that we have made an underage sale since the convenience store opened, and there's going to be absolutely modern scanners, modern facilities. Things have changed since the last time we were here trying to put our convenience store in. The store has been built, $3 million has been spent. The lighting has been significantly improved. The security cameras are in place and have been a great improvement. The whole lot has been made available for parking. There used to be a house there that is not there. There's absolutely no way someone can say that there haven't been significant changes since the last time we were here, and changes for the better. I do appreciate the fact that they apparently acknowledge that what we have done has been a great improvement to the area, but the only thing they really complain about is the nature of the product. There's no indication that we're going to violate the law, have violated the law, would violate the law, create a traffic problem. I mean, a 1,500 square foot store selling small amounts of packaged goods couldn't possibly be a major increase in traffic on Whaley Street. I just don't see it. Thank you for listening to me.
Before you sit down, so we didn't get a chance to really ask you many questions, I just want to keep you up here. Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Either the applicant or Mr. Moore? No? Yeah, go ahead.
Think of like how to formulate my question. But do we have, I think we have a plat that shows the full extent of the property to the back as well.
I've got that.
That was,
I don't know.
thank you.
Yeah,
You answered my question.
yeah. I do have a question just related to that space and just the nature of, the business. Was the space at the Suite B that this is going into, was that space marketed at all for lease, or is this pretty much the only use that's been earmarked?
I don't know which case Mr. Guile has been talking about, but from the beginning, we were talking about the possibility of using that space as a retail liquor store, and we disclosed that to them at the time. Apparently, he doesn't recall the same things I do.
Okay,
It has been reserved for use as a liquor store. It's always been intended to be used as a liquor store. And it's not for lease because the person who owns the property is going to be running it. And certainly it seems to me that that's a plus in our favor. Instead of having a tenant there that we're going to have to deal with, the owner of the property himself is going to basically be running the facility as he does the convenience store in a very civil and honorable fashion.
okay, thank you. That's really a question I had. Y'all got any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to move into board discussion. Testimony is closed, so yeah, what you think?
Well, I have to say that I find that two things. I found that Dr. Jaco is I think correct that students will buy liquor. There are a number of students who will be over 21 or older, and the seniors or even juniors will go and legally buy the liquor and then take it back to the dorm room. So that is certainly a thing. I also found it compelling that when Attorney Guile pointed out that you actually walk this area and you are a pedestrian in the area and you do find that it's a dangerous place. I think it's a bit naive to suggest that students are going to not jaywalk. We know how life runs. Any of you who walk down Assembly Street during class change time know that that happens. In fact, that's why the universities had to put up fences to keep the students from doing it. So those are my initial concerns. I'm very concerned about this. I do think that it does cause some issues. Greens is less than a mile away. And I think that this could be a real issue. It's going to be a convenient place for students to take their liquor back. The student with a legal ID will take it back to the dorm room, and it can cause problems. So I'm really concerned about that.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. Jonathan, you got any thoughts? I guess my thoughts are and I'll ask y'all too, but just looking at the criteria, I don't feel quite as strongly as you do, Catherine. I mean, I think it is an issue with the product, not with the space, not with the location. And I I don't know, I can't find any criteria that, I mean, sure, the safety, students crossing, but I mean, you could say that about any location on
You got
any busy street.
okay, I'm sorry. Pedestrian safety is one big issue.
Yeah.
I think that there can be some issues, chiefly with pedestrian safety. I do think that there's an issue with, there is a somewhat of a proliferation because Greens isn't that far away. Those are chiefly the things, I think more than anything else. We've heard from the community and they really are very concerned about this and they live there and they're very concerned about the impact that this business is going to have on the community. And like I said, Attorney Guild walks the area and he does see a real issue with pedestrian safety there.
I mean, it's going to be the same people that are going in there to buy beer that are going in to buy liquor. So if the jaywalking hasn't already been an issue, what difference is this really going to make?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think this is less of a proliferation than some others, but, you know, I do think the walking across the street, jaywalking, I mean, that probably will happen, but that happens anywhere that there's busy locations. So why do we discriminate against this one over others? It's kind of my thought. I'm just looking at the rest of the criteria.
So I think there's sort of two sides to every point on this one. As Davis said, there's already a similar business that's drawing students across the street. So I don't necessarily think that this would draw more students across the street, unless you're considering that those students are choosing to walk to this location versus potentially driving inebriated 3/4 of a mile down the road to Greens, which you're not going to walk. You know, that sounds really close in a car, but on foot, you know, it doesn't feel so close. So from a business standpoint, this is, you know, an exceptional location for a package store. You know, it's a commendable choice from a business standpoint. But being a patron of Banh Mi Boys and having been to events at 701 and eating at the Village Idiot and playing kickball at Pacific Park over the years, that parking lot is tiny. To pull in specifically for the two retail units. And so I think that's, you know, if people kind of learn the rules of the game and park where there's more adequate parking over at the Shiv Mart, you know, that sort of helps to alleviate it. But the design, I'm going to take issue with the design. It is not pedestrian friendly from a planning standpoint. The parking lot for the, you know, but that's not this business's fault.
Hope, regarding the parking, and when this was designed and permitted, I know the city's gotten rid of, can you just, for the board and for the members here, can you say what the parking requirements are for small businesses?
Yeah, so this is zoned NAC, and in that NAC district, there is no minimum parking requirement.
Yeah,
You assume it's decentralized or, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
but
And that's to try to incentivize these small businesses and to get them to open up and not have parking requirements and, yeah,
and to be more pedestrian friendly.
Pedestrian
because you're
friendly.
Encouraging, you know,
other forms of transportation, yeah.
so that's what I'm saying. The corner is the pedestrian unfriendly spot. That's,
I just don't see enough here. I mean, I get it, like, I don't know. I live right down the road from the liquor store. I don't ever hear of issues there. The fact that they haven't had any issues thus far, I just think we're dealing with a pretty clean operator. And I just think the issue is the product, and which is not a reason to deny something, in my opinion. So I'm ready to hear a motion if somebody's wants to step up with one? Jonathan, let's hear a motion.
I motion to approve.
Subject to staff comments.
Subject to staff comments. Yeah.
Yes, subject to staff comments.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, motion and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay, the motion's approved 4-1. Thank y'all. All right, moving on to the next case. Yeah.
Didn't have enough substance, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, if everyone's ready, we can move on to the next case. Also, another special exception case. It's at Kings Grant Drive at I-77. It's portions of two parcels, and it's a request. It's a request to permit a stealth wireless communication facility, or a monopine, in the NAC district. And I believe the applicant is here to present the request.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Sandifer. I represent Vogue Towers, act as a project manager for their development, and here to tell you a little bit about what this proposal is. So the co-applicant is Verizon Wireless, one of the wireless providers that no doubt everyone's heard of. They've been working in this area to provide a site or an offload to their existing network for several years, working on both sides of the interstate. They engaged Vogue Towers maybe 15 months ago, I believe, maybe May of last year, and with the idea that Vogue Towers might be able to provide a solution, or in this world, what we call build-a-suit. They've worked with the HOA. The HOA, because of the service in that community, was very open to the idea, and went through that process with voting with the HOA, agreeing, getting a lease agreement in place for the use of the space. And then earlier this year, met with staff and looking at the option to rezone a little over 2 acres from what was existing to the new NAC to then permit a communications facility. What we're proposing here is a 150-foot monopine, so it's one of the towers that looks like a pine tree. It's in an existing vegetated area at the front entrance there. I don't know if you got a picture, but it is a multi-provider facility, meaning essentially Vogue Towers is a vertical shopping center. If you see around town the towers that have a couple of different sections, it's what it is. It's just taking it and doing it that way. They work with all the carriers, and so while Verizon is a co-applicant because it was for their immediate need, this tower is open to T-Mobile, AT&T. They also make space available to local EMA and first responders if that is needed for the network. There was a concern early on from the base, and some frequency analysis paperwork a report was done, submitted to the base, and they have since emailed that they have no issue with this proceeding forward. The access is going along underneath the existing power lines that run there. That was one of the conditions from the HOA. They didn't want to see it and have the drive right off the road. So you'll see from the site plan, it actually goes along and kind of curves, there you go, back up to it. And that way it's using an existing maintenance drive for the power lines coming off their entrance. Their guard shack building is just to the right. That's that little turnaround if you were going there and didn't want to go in. So to get your bearings, the guard building is just to the right of all this. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have regarding the facility or the request.
This question about y'all's operation. So you said y'all have multiple layers. I guess you kind of lease it out like a utility line, like utility poles do, sort of, or have multiple different,
Correct.
yeah, multiple users on it.
Is that all do you have all the plans up there? Okay, so yes, within the fence compound, since Verizon's co-applicant here, you see their equipment. I believe it's on the north side. that pole location. And what we typically show is room for multiple providers, both on the pole. It'll be designed to support multiple levels of antennas, and there's space within the compound and enough power brought in for all of them to operate.
Yeah. And this is, yeah, you said before you get to the guard shack, just right there on the right side, in between the interstate and the guard shack. That's where this road is coming in?
Yes, sir. That's an existing little entrance there. Just behind, right off the road, there's some bushes and there's some transformers and some electrical equipment. So that maintenance road is existing probably for the power company to access it. So we were utilizing that same access and then looping it around where there was no direct visibility to the community.
Okay.
You can see that smaller parcel there kind of running through. So it's portions of two parcels, but that one on the right is that one. See, there's two highlighted in blue. So it's kind of down there more in that, towards that corner.
Yeah, familiar with that neighborhood. I was just trying to picture exactly where it was, and I'm assuming this has been well received by the neighborhood, just because
Yes.
there's, I'm on the phone fairly often with people going in and out of the neighborhood, and they're always complaining about the cell coverage.
Yes. Strangely enough, I mean, I'm usually, when you're close to residential, that's usually my problem area is trying to get something zoned. But this went through, there was a presentation, a meeting, like I said, almost 15 months ago. And before the HOA, the board members would sign the lease agreement. They wanted a vote from the entire HOA. I believe they put a vote in every mailbox trying to make sure they had enough support. And because of the service, it was overwhelmingly positive.
And the rezoning request was just finalized on Tuesday evening, second reading by council.
So they rezoned it to NAC? Okay. But cell towers, they have to have a special exception in pretty much all the zonings, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
in NAC, it requires a
just NAC.
special exception.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the reason for what we requested is also in the NAC, the tower has to be 150 feet from any residential property line. That's why the rezoning of that covers those two parcels. It's a little odd shape, but it was making sure that we met that condition to any residential property line. And I don't know the history. I don't know why there's so many broken up parcels along the entrance. I don't know how that was acquired, but
Yeah. Do y'all own and operate any other towers in the area? Just curious.
in the Columbia area, no, sir. Vogue Towers, I mean, Verizon does. They actually have a site just north of here on the backside of the base
Okay.
that I believe is now owned by American Tower. I think Verizon built it many years ago.
Okay.
They have facilities all around here. They are the, as you're going just down the interstate, maybe the next exit down, there's a pole with several carriers on it, and Verizon's on that as well. But Vogue Towers, as a property manager, doesn't have anything in this area.
Yeah, we get cell tower requests from time to time, just with the growth and all that, so familiar with the request. Did you have a question or anything? Just one last question. I mean, do y'all plan to hold this, or is this something that, like, how does that work? Do y'all sell it to an American Towers when you're done, or does Vogue Towers hold it, or?
So they do both.
Okay,
I don't know if this one has any plans for change.
okay,
But most of the time, they're trying to hold them. But a lot of the developers, when the market is right, will look to
sell it in one of those
possibly
groups.
sell it.
Yeah,
It's just like real estate. If the offer's good, it's
sure, okay.
what the market dictates.
I'm good. I'll probably asked more questions than I needed. Y'all got any other questions? Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Anyone from the audience wish to speak on this case? All right. Seeing and hearing none, guess you don't need a rebuttal. So testimony's closed, and if we have any discussion or if you want to make a motion.
I move that we approve, subject to staff comments.
All right. We have a motion and a second, or a motion. Do we have a second? All right. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion's approved. All right. Seeing no other business, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second. Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, adjourned. Thank you.